All right, everybody, it's your boy Genius out at the range today, right up front of the video. As always, want to make sure that if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Savior on this beautiful day that the Lord has made, make sure that you take care of that. If you do not know how you can know for sure that you're going to heaven, reach out to me in the comment section. Email me at gsquaredtactical@gmail.com. Be glad to have a conversation with you about that. And let's get that taken care of today, as today is the day of salvation. So I finally got my hands on the Derya Melik series. It is a 92 Beretta clone, of course. And if you remember, if you don't already know, you didn't watch the video, what Derya proposed to me was that they liked the idea of me going out buying the firearm myself. They knew that that was something my viewers liked. So, but they wanted to provide a firearm for me. They wanted me to review a certain firearm, one that I probably otherwise would not have purchased or reviewed. So they said, we want you to go to a local store, one of your local gun stores that you go to, and we want you to get one. We want you to pick one up right off the shelf, cherry pick it off the shelf yourself. We don't want to send you one so everyone can say, oh, they polished it better, they cleaned it up better, they machined it better. They hand picked one specifically for me, and I could still say I bought it with my own money because I did. And once I purchased it, I would upload the receipt to them via email, and they would reimburse me for the purchase amount, which they did do. After I done the review, good, bad, or indifferent, they would they would give me $100 for ammunition. Okay, I thought it was a genius deal. Took me a little bit to find it, but I did find it at a gun show this weekend, local to me. So it was a local gun store, not one that I have been to before, but it is a local gun store. And as long as I've been looking for it, I felt as though I had to pick it up. Either way, the second or third gun I ever bought was a Beretta 92 FS. I still have it. The only thing I've changed on it is I put a set of Wilson Combat grips on it. But other than that, it's stock. So why does people buy clones? Why do you buy a Glock 19 clone? I mean, why not? If you like a Glock 19, then why not just buy a Glock 19, right? So why do you buy a Glock 19 clone? Well, it's real simple. Let's not act like it ain't real simple, and that is because of the price. Because in some cases, it's half the price of a Glock 19, right? So then it comes down to, well, is it better? Or is it as good? Or is it as close? Is it good enough to have saved the $250, $300, $350? Well, that is the $1,000,000 question. So when you go into the store, what's the first thing that you see? Very first thing you see when you pick the gun up, the aesthetics, right? So one thing I've noticed about a lot of clones is that the finishes on them are atrocious a lot of times, just absolutely atrocious. And you can see machining marks. You have these dark and light spots throughout the finish. Okay, the difference in the finish on this one and the Beretta 92 is that this is more of a matte, a dull, a flat finish, if you will, on the slide itself, and then more of a sheen or a glossy finish on the frame, just like on the Beretta. And the Beretta is more of a glossy finish. Okay, overall, I like the finish on the Beretta better. However, with that being said, looking at this directly in the sun, right down the slide on both sides, I see zero, and I do mean zero machining marks in this slide or in this barrel, okay, or even on the frame for that matter. It is a very, very good finish for a gun that comes in at about, I can't mention the price, but it comes in at about half the price of a Beretta 92 FS. Okay, that gets me right up front, right? What's the next thing you're going to do? Well, you're either going to rack the slide or you're going to look down the sights, one or the other, okay? Sights are very, very similar on this, right? As is the Beretta 92, except for my Beretta 92 FS has a white front dot and white two dots on the rear, obviously. This one has a reddish orange front sight, which you know if you've watched the channel very much, I do like a reddish orange sight. I always pick that up better. I'm not a fan of white dots. I really would rather blacked out in the rear, but not a big deal. Put some black paint over it if you don't like it, okay? But I do overall, because of that colored front sight, I like the sights slightly better, but again, they're mostly just similar, okay? It does have this concaved area in the front of the slide like all Beretta 92s, so you are able to grab that and manipulate the slide that way. So that's the next thing you do. You rack the slide, right? How smooth is it? How easy is it to rack? You know, do you feel any grit? Does it feel like something's rubbing, you know, on the slide? On the slide in the frame, is there rub? Is there grit? None, zero. Completely smooth slide. I asked my wife last night, I said, hey, will you rack the slide on both of these guns and tell me which one feels better? Her response was, they both feel the same to me. Okay, fair enough, that's good. I thought the same thing. They both feel the same. They don't feel any different. I don't feel any abnormal grit in it whatsoever. So, frame to slide fitment, there's a little bit of wiggle there. Fitment is good, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, well, what's the next thing you're gonna do? Well, you can't take the gun down in the store. Well, most of the time they're not going to allow that. So you can't take it down. So what's the next thing you're gonna do? Well, most people are gonna pull the trigger, okay? Well, this obviously is a double action, single action, does have a decocker. So you'd have to carry this from a double action. What I would do, and I'll tell you why here in a second, is I would quarter cock this hammer, and I'm probably going to leave my safety off because this is not a super light trigger. No 92 FS is, okay? And I'm gonna carry it just like that with the safety off, hammer quarter cocked. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna carry it with the hammer quarter cocked. So the hammer's all the way forward now. I'm going to pull this trigger from a double action, and once it reaches that quarter cock place, does the same thing on the Beretta 92. So I'm not saying bad one way or the other, okay? I'm going to assume that that picked up on the camera. Sorry about my raspy voice. The weather here in North Carolina has been absolutely insane. 80, 60, 19 degrees. It's just supposed to have snow in 2 days. It's the craziest thing ever. My sinuses are jacked up, okay? I'm trying my best here. But anyway, so let's do that again. So when it reaches that quarter cock spot, when you're pulling the trigger from a double action, it does it on the Beretta 92 as well, but on this one you can feel it, like you can really feel it in your finger when it hits that spot, and the hammer bounces a little bit, right? So it's not a huge deal. I'm just pointing out what it does, right? After that, after it reaches that quarter cock, you feel that little bounce in the trigger. From that point forward, it's very smooth, okay? You don't get this, well, it feels like it's gonna break, or you get lighter and then heavier again. It's consistent all the way back to the break, okay? So let's do it again. So you hear that click, that's at the quarter cocked position. Some people say half cocked, but it's really not half, right? Once it reaches there, it's smooth all the way through, right? So let's do the reset. Reset audibly is very tactile, and it does push back on your finger, so you know it reset. It's relatively short, not long, not real short. I'd say about middle, okay? About average, if you will. Once you get the reset, you get a little bit of take up, you hit a wall, and it breaks right at the wall. So there is a defined wall. It's not a rolling break. So compare that to the Beretta 92. Okay, we're gonna decock this one. Okay, take the safety off. Gonna pull the trigger. It also reaches a quarter cock position, right? And you do hear a click, but you feel nothing in your finger. The hammer doesn't bounce or have this bounce, and you don't feel it in your trigger, okay? Or in your finger, should I say. Smooth all the way through. The reset is not as audible, and it does not push back on your finger as well as the Melik does. I hate to say that it's going to end up hurting my soul. I expected to come out here and talk about all the things that was better on this one and decide whether or not it was worth it to pay less than half or half of what this one would cost. But again, I'm doing this, I'm just winging this. I haven't really messed around much with it prior to coming to the range, okay? But there's no question. Hits a wall, breaks right at the wall. But there's no question that that reset is not as audible and is definitely not as tactile in pushing back on your finger. But it does break right at the wall. But you don't have that weird, it does reach a quarter cock and make that click. And it is smooth. It is smooth all the way. It's very predictable, if you will. But the trigger is actually, other than that little weird bounce at quarter cock, that's weird. That's just weird. You can feel it in your finger and you can feel the hammer bounce, okay? It actually feels lighter. I'm going to have to put it on a trigger gauge. I'll do a short on that and put it on a trigger gauge to see if I'm right, but it actually feels lighter from a double action. I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference, but it definitely is more audible. I have earplugs in, but it also pushes back on your finger way better. So the reset is better on the Melik. It feels like the double action pull's a little bit lighter, but it does have this weird little bounce that kind of messes with me a little bit. I don't know why I let it mess with me, but it does a little bit. But overall, I'd say it's about equal, all things considered, right? So then you can't take it down. So what's the first thing you're going to do when you get home? Well, for me, I'm going to pull the slide off. I'm going to look at the internals, and I want to see if I see an excessive amount of machining marks in there. Do I see a lot of wear places on it where I've racked the slide and so forth? But primarily, too, I'm looking for those swirls, those lines, those machining marks. And surprisingly, over here on the tailgate, prior to doing this, as you can see, the videos that I've put up or the little photos or whatever, as much as I hate to say this, I believe I saw more machining marks in the Beretta 92 than I did in this. Overall, it's very well machined on the internals, you know, down in the frame and also in the slide overall. I mean, the pictures could speak for themselves. I'm putting the pictures up. You can see them for yourself. There looks like more machining marks. At the back of the barrel on the Beretta, I seen a bunch of lines, machining marks on the barrel. I'm not saying one way or the other if you're a Beretta fan. I'm just speaking the facts, right? I'm just speaking, the pictures speak for themselves. The little videos I'm putting over it, it speaks for itself. Definitely seems to be well machined down on the inside for something that cost half the price, okay? So, what other people ask is, what's the deal with Derya? You know, is it an American company? You know, what's Arms Corps, Rock Island? I knew people would ask that, so I asked the question, and I'm just going to repeat or read the email directly from Derya as I asked them, what is the deal with Derya? Is it Rock Island? Is it Arms Corps? Is it imported? Like, what is it? This is what they said. Derya and Arms Corps still have a great reputation. When Derya started in the U.S., they were using various importers and linked up with an exclusive importation for shotguns with Arms Corps. When Derya started getting bigger, Derya wanted to get own brand in USA and start on its own. Arms Corps is a partner and investor into Derya in the U.S., but it is controlled by Derya brand. Derya in the U.S. is a complete separate company and already have invested a couple $1 million in the U.S. manufacturing. The DY9 will be made in the USA and also in Turkey. The Melik brand will be imported, and we are concentrating on shotguns for military and police market. Of course, also for commercial market, but shotguns is concentrated for military and police. Derya will sell all of its imported and manufactured rifles rifle products under Derya 22 long rifles, such as the TM22, great rifle by the way, will be under Rock Island Armory this year. Then next year will be Derya. All U.S. manufactured shotguns will be under Derya. All imported shotguns under RIA or whatever brand name they design. Well, I figured the next question people would ask, as the guy that I bought the gun from, he just kept on saying over and over, all the parts are interchangeable with the Beretta 92, 100% interchangeable. You could just swap them right on out. Just get you something for a Beretta 9. Well, you know, a lot of people do that on YouTube as well, and they say those types of things. The YouTube know-it-alls, I call them. They say we're the know-it-alls, but it's actually the people in the comment section. So before I started regurgitating that, I wanted to find out. So I asked, and this is the response that I received. The key difference between the Melik and the Beretta 92 FS mainly revolve around their frames and grips. The Melik's grip screws are set into a raised section of the frame and have a larger diameter compared to the Berettas, which uses steel inserts. This makes it unlikely for wood or hard material grips to fit over the Melik screws. Additionally, the Beretta wooden grips are incompatible with Melik. While the grip screws can be interchanged between the two different firearms, the grips themselves may require adjustments and might not sit flush, depending on the manufacturer. On a positive note, their magazine wells are similar, allowing the magazines to fit both firearms. The Melik specifically uses the ACT Mag magazine. I hope this helps. Let me know if there's anything else. Long story short, most parts work, but it isn't like a Glock. It will take some fitting. So I guess overall, to answer the question, it doesn't sound like you're just going to be able to pick up parts for a Beretta 92 and it just worked great without doing some type of fitting, okay? So I hope that answers all the questions. I am overall impressed. I am an OCD freak. I'm an aesthetic person, right? I am overall impressed with the machining on this gun, with the finish on this gun. I'm not a huge fan of a Beretta 92 in general, but I'm going to shoot it because at the end of the day, what matters, I have not pulled the trigger on a live round with this gun. You will see the very first shot. I wasn't going to do that, but I decided that's what I will do. You will see the very first shots with this gun. So I'm just going to get the magazine loaded up because at the end of the day, what matters most is how does the gun shoot. All right, very first rounds with the Derya Melik. I am going to decock the firearm and pull it from a double action so we can see how that, little trigger bounce or whatever that is, how that does. But it did come with a 17-round magazine. My original FS only came with a 15, but as mentioned in the email, it does work, or at least I think it does. It went in there and locked back on the mag, so I'm going to use it anyway for the day because it only came with one 17-round magazine. So I'm going to pull from a double action. I will turn the camera around and let you see accuracy, but I could tell you already, I'm just not the biggest fan of the Beretta 92 platform, so I typically do not perform well with it. Maybe it'll surprise me today. Maybe I have gotten better. I don't know. Let's just find out. Well, one thing is of a certainty, the grouping is phenomenal. If you can get a group like that where you're actually aiming, that's pretty impressive. And now I will say that on a live round, pulling, concentrating, anticipating, knowing that it was going to fire, that little, okay, so here's what I would do. I'm gonna get this other magazine. I would just eliminate that from the equation altogether, okay? I would decock the gun and I would just go ahead and quarter cock that hammer, eliminate that from the equation because that was a little bit weird. It did mess with me a little bit. In the defensive situation, is it going to matter? Probably not. Another thing to note as I rack this slide back, I wanted to make a note of it, is that the feed ramp is very well polished on the barrel, as is on the 92FS, the Beretta as well. And just wanted to make a note of that. So I'm going to pull it from a double action again with the hammer quarter cocked. See if I like that little situation a little better. So it's got a little bit of take up, hits a wall. Again, phenomenal tight group. My Beretta 92, I definitely have a better, more sure grip on it because I changed my grip panels to some thinner grip panels of Wilson Combat, and so I do feel like I have a better grip on the gun overall. Okay, these are more traditional grips that you would see on a Beretta 92 FS. Plasticky, I wouldn't really call these G10 grips. They got nice texturing on them. You definitely feel like you've got a good purchase on it. It's not going to slip out of your hands. It's just fatter through the grip with the panels, these panels on here. But again, that can be changed with, you know, changing your panels out. Texturing on the front strap, texturing on the rear lanyard loop, just like on all the Beretta 92s. Nice large oval trigger guard. It is serrated on the front. And another thing of note is that the Beretta 92 has a plastic guide rod. This has a steel or a metal guide rod in it. Some people like that, some people don't. I think that's pretty cool. To me personally, I think that's an upgrade, not a downgrade. I like the metal guide rods. If you've watched the channel for any length of time, you know that. Bring it back and get over on the target and let you see the accuracy or see me hitting the target. All right, so I spent some time training with the gun, put 96 rounds through it. By the way, without a hitch, no problems. Gun's been flawless. Had to move the camera a little bit because the sun has shifted. But maybe I should have spent some time years ago instead of being butthurt that I didn't shoot good with it. Maybe I should have spent some time training with it. Because again, many years ago, probably 20 years ago when I bought the original FS, the last time I probably took it out and shot it just to make sure it functioned was probably 2, maybe even 3 years ago, okay? So I don't have a ton of experience with the 92 platform. Let's just get straight to shooting the thing. All right, still not perfect, but definitely figuring it out. Let's put it that way. Not bad. I'm definitely happy with that in comparison to how I have shot with the 92 platform in the past. Okay. Again, I know this video is a little long, and I do apologize for that, but I was trying to make sure I got all of the information about the firearm, the brand, the manufacturer, the deal they made with me, and everything that I could in one video. I am going to do some follow-up videos with this, a few shorts and stuff that are not quite as lengthy, just to talk more about the reliability and function. So far, after this magazine, it was 96. Let's see, it was 32 on that first one. So that would be, 28, 128, and then 2 more magazines. I don't know, about 150 rounds today. Now, functionally, you know, going down range, chambering, there's been no stovepipes, no malfunctions of any kind, not even a hint at a malfunction. I'm going to put this last magazine through it, and then we'll talk a little bit about whether or not I think, you know, it's worth the price and you should go out and buy the firearm. You know, the thing that I'm most ecstatic about is that I actually got pretty good with the Beretta 92 clone, or the 92 platform, and the gun has been fun to shoot. So here's my thing, here's my take on it. So with me liking the sights better on this one, only because it's colored on the front, again, whatever, not, you know, it's neither here nor there. So with the liking the sights better on this, the machining and the finish on this being phenomenal in my opinion anyway, from, again, just from what I saw from the pictures, with the machining on this being phenomenal, the finish being just stunning for half the price, right? The just overall functional, no malfunctions at all, and having seemingly a better, you know, having shot it now 150 rounds, it's still a very tight framed, slide to frame fitment, and definitely more wiggle in my Beretta. And I promise you, the Beretta has only had probably 300 rounds through it in its life. So this has had half of that. And again, I don't care what anybody says, this is a tighter fitment than is the Beretta. So machining, now the finish on the Beretta outside, definitely I like the glossy finish. It really depends on your preference, right? I think the finish on the outside of the slide seems better on the Beretta, but this is a great finish, okay? On the frame and on the slide. Very tight fitment, has a steel guide rod, right? That one has a plastic, the Beretta has a plastic guide rod, okay? The trigger, I like the trigger better because, unless I quarter cock it, like I said, but overall I think I like the trigger better on the Beretta for sure. I guess that's where this one would probably fall a little bit short of the Beretta. Because I changed the grip panels, it fits better in my hand, but that's not anything to do with the gun. What I'm trying to say is absolutely it is worth half the price of a Beretta 92. Absolutely worth it. 100%. I would buy it all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. I would buy the gun without question. I can totally recommend it. I hope you enjoyed the video. The Derya Melik, and yes, I would totally buy the gun. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. Go over, check me out on Patreon. Consider supporting me $5 a month so I can continue to keep buying ammunition for these reviews. Check me out at gsquaredtactical.com. You can support directly through the website. As always, on this beautiful day that the Lord has made, be glad in it, and to God be the glory.